the day I signed the biggest deal of my life. I thought my family would finally live without worrying. But instead of celebrating, my wife looked into my eyes and quietly said, "When our son comes home tonight, tell him we lost everything." I couldn't understand why she wanted me to lie. Less than 24 hours later, my son's decision revealed a truth that changed my life forever. My name is Adrian Brooks, and I spent 25 years building a software company in Riverton, a city far from where I grew up. Every late night, every missed vacation, every sacrifice had one purpose: to give my wife Clara and our son Ethan a future I never had. When a global company offered me $20 million to buy my business, I believed all those years had finally paid off. I drove home with the signed papers, ready to surprise my family. But Clara wasn't smiling. She quietly closed the front door, looked at me with tears in her eyes, and said, "Don't tell Ethan about the sale. Tell him the deal collapsed and we lost almost everything." I stared at her in disbelief. Why would we do that? She took my hand. Because money doesn't change people. It reveals them. I didn't like the idea, but I trusted her judgment more than anyone else's. That evening, Ethan came over for dinner with his girlfriend, Maya. After dinner, I sighed and told him the company sale had failed. I explained that years of legal costs had left us with almost nothing. The room fell silent. For a few seconds, Ethan didn't say a word. Then he slowly stood up. "Well, that single quote's unfortunate," he muttered. He hugged his mother quickly, shook my hand without looking into my eyes, and left. No offer to help, no questions, no concern, just silence. That night, I barely slept. I kept wondering if Clara had been wrong. The next morning, there was a knock at the door. When I opened it, Ethan was standing there carrying an old metal toolbox. "I thought you could use this," he said quietly. Inside were his grandfather's tools. "I know they're old," Ethan smiled, "but Grandpa always said you could build anything with these. If you have to start over, we'll start over together." Before I could answer, he handed me another envelope. Inside was a cashier's check. Every dollar he had saved over the last 7 years. "I was saving this to buy a bigger house," he said. "But houses can wait. Parents can't." I couldn't hold back my tears. Clara squeezed my hand. That's when I finally understood why she had asked me to hide the truth. She wasn't testing our son's love. She was protecting our family from confusing wealth with character. A few hours later, I invited Ethan back to the house. This time, I placed the real contract on the table. "I lied," I admitted. "The company sold yesterday." His face froze. You didn't lose everything." I shook my head. "No, but yesterday you proved something money can never buy." I pushed the cashier's check back toward him. "You offered everything you had without expecting anything in return. That's worth far more than $20 million. Ethan refused to take the check back. Instead, he hugged both of us. For the first time in years, we cried together, not because of loss, but because we realized our family was built on something stronger than money. Months later, instead of buying luxury cars or giant mansions, we started a scholarship in Ethan's grandfather's name to help young entrepreneurs from small towns chase impossible dreams. The company was gone. The money eventually became ordinary. But that old toolbox still sits in my office today. Whenever someone asks me what the most valuable thing I own is, I don't point to the sale contract. I point to the worn-out toolbox that reminded me what true wealth really looks like. Sometimes the greatest inheritance isn't money. It's the kind of heart that chooses people over possessions.